Over the past couple of weeks, using nothing but polls on my YouTube community tab, I managed to get from a fully scrambled Rubik's Cube to one that was completely solved. Let's talk about how I did that and what we can learn from it. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. The first 1,000 subscribers to go to the link in the description will get a free trial membership of Skillshare Premium. Now, back to the video. A few weeks ago, I posted this poll on my community tab, asking my amazing audience to help me solve a Rubik's Cube through polls. I gave everyone a scramble that I chose completely at random and asked everyone which color we should start the solve on. I have to admit, I had no idea what to expect when I was going into this. At the time that I made that post, I wasn't even planning on making this video. I was originally just trying to take advantage of the YouTube exploit where they promote polls a lot more than they should. But in the end, I ended up enjoying it and I learned a lot from it, so here we are. Here's what the scramble for this challenge looks like on a real cube. Even though I chose the scramble completely randomly, turns out I made a really good choice because there are multiple really good options that we could start on this scramble. Blue has a lot of cross pieces that are close to being solved, orange looks very easy, white isn't too bad either, yellow has a very obvious 4-move cross, and green has a really sneaky 3-move cross solution. What I was hoping for is that everyone who participated in the poll would try the scramble on their own cube and decide which option to vote for based on what they thought looked best. Because of that, I expected the top option to be yellow, then green would be the next most popular because the solution was less obvious, followed by orange and white, and finally blue. That's what I was expecting, but let's compare that to the actual votes. Really? Despite the 5 awesome options here, 69% of voters just chose white, and the rest of the options weren't even close. It turns out there are 2 groups of people when it comes to this challenge. There's group 1, who actually test out the scramble, try different options, and vote based on that. And then there's group 2, who see the poll, don't even look at the scramble, and just blindly vote for white because that's the only color they can solve on. Or even worse, they vote for white because that's the top option in the poll, so that's what they can choose fastest. To everyone in group 1, you are awesome. Thank you so much for all the thought and effort you put into this challenge. Even on this very first poll, there were people commenting their solutions to the entire solve, people counting how many moves it takes to solve each cross color, and entire discussions about how to optimize every aspect of what they were doing. In fact, the reason I discovered the 3-move green cross was because of a comment on this post. I loved seeing this amount of discussion and thought, but it just ended up making me feel worse about how much Group 2 sabotaged them at every step. The comments also make it clear that a lot of the voters weren't happy about this as well. But after all, votes are votes, so I solved my white cross. It wasn't terrible, but because we had to do white, we're already 2 moves behind where we could be. The next poll linked to a video of that cross solution and then asked everyone which of the 4 F2L pair options we should do first. From the position we were left in after cross, there were 2 viable options for our first pair and 2 options that were absolutely terrible. Out of the 2 good options, one took 7 moves to solve a pair into the front left and the other took 8 moves to solve a pair into the back right, so they're almost exactly equal in terms of how good the options are. Because of that, you'd expect the votes to be basically 50-50 between the 2 good options, and the 2 other options would have basically 0 votes, right? Nope. Not only did 12% of voters, or over 600 people, vote for the terrible options, but the votes between the 2 good options weren't even close. And legitimately the only reason I can think of for why red and green has 52% more votes than blue and orange is because it shows up first in the poll. At least group 2 made a good choice this time. Once again, group 1 was doing amazing things in the comments, like figuring out how different F2L options affect the rest of the solve, but the real breakthrough on this post was people commenting, pointing out how the poll had more votes than there were views on the video linked in that poll. This is definitive proof that at least 1,000 people voted on this poll without any information to back up their vote. And unfortunately, this happened on every single poll, except for one time where I had one video that was linked to in 2 polls. I think this comment sums it up really well. Because the solution to the red and green pair was very simple, I just solved the pair without doing a poll on how to solve it. This means that the next poll was on which F2L pair we should solve from this position. Going into this one, I thought that the results on this poll were going to be very one-sided. After all, our options are to solve green and orange by connecting them and inserting like this, solve blue and orange by cube rotating and solving like this, or to suffer and solve blue and red. I thought that everyone was going to be voting for green and orange, but I also wanted to test the theory that group 2 would vote for whichever option was at the very top of the list, so I intentionally put green and orange at the bottom of this list. And although green and orange did win here outright, and although the majority of the votes for blue and orange were probably from the group 2 paste eaters, the choice for this poll was actually a lot more interesting than I originally thought. In the comments of this poll, group 1 proposed 2 different solutions that I had not thought of when I made the poll. The first one is that you can solve the green and orange pair with U, S prime, L2, S. And that saves 2 moves over my intended solution. Obviously, I knew that was a thing you could do, but that is not something I would ever do in a solve at full speed, so it was not at the front of my mind when I was making the poll options. But the far more interesting thing was posted by Group 1 star Alex Davidson. His comment is just 2 words, and then some letters. Blue-orange. R prime F2, R F2. What? I had never seen that solution before, and I was amazed. What I thought was a very one-sided poll was actually between 2 options that were the exact same move count. However, that solution for blue and orange is so obscure that I bet a lot of the group 1 people didn't even know about it. But the ones that did probably contributed a lot to the 17% that the blue-orange option got on this poll. But still, votes are votes, and I had to solve green and orange. So I ended up doing that just how I would in a full speed solve. The next question I asked was which of these 2 pairs we should solve first. And once again, I wrongly assumed that the answer here was obvious. You can solve blue and orange without cube rotating, but with blue and red, you can't. So blue and orange is obviously the right choice, right? That was my logic, and I was so confident about it that when I asked my friend Jeremy what he would do, I didn't even ask him about choosing which pair. I went straight to asking him how he would solve blue and orange. The thing about Jeremy is that he's a lot more clever of a solver than you'd think based on his speed. He also has a really interesting channel which I'll have linked up there in the card. And what Jeremy pointed out to me is that if you cube rotate from this position to solve blue and red first, then you'll be able to solve blue and orange without cube rotating from there. Once you know that, that is definitely the right thing to do here. But again, this isn't about what's right, it's about what gets more votes. A lot of Group 1 solvers found the exact same thing Jeremy did, and commenter Kevin Stauffer gets a major shout out for finding something even more genius that I didn't notice until I was writing the script for this video. Unfortunately, these intelligent and thoughtful solvers were once again outnumbered by the people that use the same logic that I did. Even I'm guilty of making assumptions too quickly sometimes. This blue and orange pair can be solved in 3 almost identical ways. That means in order to choose the best option, you'd have to look beyond this pair itself and take into account how each of these solutions affects your last pair. As you can see, only one of the options gives you a decent last pair, and because of that, that's the solution I would choose here. So how many votes did that option get? 13%. I have absolutely no explanation for why 78% of people would choose the option that's longer than the other 2 and one that gives you a really bad last pair. The only possibility is once again that it was the very top option in the list. Unfortunately, we can't even get an estimate on how many Group 2 voters there were on this poll, because this is the one where 2 polls link to the same video, so we don't have conclusive totals there. Now we're on our last pair, and we have a basic edge insert. This is the first time in a long time where I think the majority of Group 1 and Group 2 solvers were in agreement on what they should do. Although there were some commenters who were upset about losing our EO, if I got this situation in a solve, I would absolutely just connect the pair and insert it with a hedge. It probably did help that I put this option first on the poll though. Now we're on to the last layer, and once we get here, we have a lot fewer options for different things that we can do. And obviously I had some trouble figuring out how to make multiple different options for the polls. I put a very Group 2 friendly option at the top of the poll, and I put the option that I would actually do right below that, and luckily it won outright. Not surprisingly though, the top option got a lot of votes. It's also not surprising that there were twice as many votes on the poll as there were views on the video linked in that poll, although it was very disappointing. And finally, we're on PLL. For regular two-handed solving, there's not much you can or should do here besides the regular ePerm alg. It was pretty funny how many people voted to just give up at the sight of an ePerm, but in the end, the smart option won, giving us a standard finish to our solve. In the end, through a combined effort from me and thousands of voters on YouTube, we solved the Rubik's Cube in a total of 61 moves, which is surprisingly not that bad. So what did I learn from this? I learned that although there are always going to be people who just do the bare minimum and don't give any task the attention or effort that it needs, my audience is also full of amazing, intelligent, and creative people who are capable of sharing, explaining, and discussing their knowledge with other people. And that is straight up amazing. Those are the exact kinds of people that I want to make videos for on my channel. And those are also the exact kinds of people who would enjoy Skillshare, who is the sponsor of this video. Just like how I accidentally created an environment for people to test their knowledge, share their knowledge, and discuss it with other people, Skillshare aims to create that environment based around any topic you could think of. Let's say that you want to get in on the cubography trend on Instagram. So you try out this iPhone photography class. Instead of just watching the videos and then moving on, you have the opportunity to ask questions in the discussion panel and even to upload your own work and get feedback from other people. Your progress will truly be a team effort, and everyone will grow more together than they could on their own. Now, I need to be honest with all of you. The past month has been a real struggle for me in terms of being able to do the things that I need or want to do. I would wake up every morning, eat breakfast, then play video games until 10 or 11, start trying to write a video, and I would work until my laptop battery died and I would only have a couple pages of script that I may or may not even like. I'm even sitting on multiple finished video scripts, but I just couldn't muster up the motivation to sit down and record them. I couldn't even focus on one thing for long enough to watch an entire YouTube video without pulling out my phone or going to a different tab to check out Discord. It was that bad. And the whole time I knew this was an awful thing to do, but I just couldn't force myself to stop. By using Skillshare, I'm taking the first steps to getting my habits back to what they should be. I'm planning on watching as many time management classes as I possibly can, starting with this Boost Your Productivity class by Tom Wiztech, and immediately applying what I learned to my life. Using just the first few lessons from that class, I was able to write the entire script for this video in just 2 sittings, and I was able to record the entire thing in just 1 afternoon. I also really appreciate that one of his first steps is to have you write your goals down. I did that, and now that I did, I have a much more refreshed sense of what I'm doing all of this for. I highly encourage you to use Skillshare to make your life better like I'm trying to. But if you need more convincing, remember that Skillshare has no ads, they're constantly adding new premium classes, and if you get the annual subscription, it will cost you less than $10 a month. But even then, if you just go to the top link in the description, you can get a free trial of Skillshare Premium to try this all out. It's absolutely amazing, and I hope you take advantage of this opportunity. So thank you to all of you, even the Group 2 people, for watching this video. Hopefully it won't be another month until my next one. I've got a lot of amazing stuff planned for the near future. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you have a great day. This is Brody, signing out.